Has your dog ever done something and you wondered, why are you doing that? Well, in today's video, we're going to take a look at some common dog behaviors, from the gross, the weird, to the adorable, and explain exactly why they're doing what they're doing. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Nicole with Pawdorable Finds, and I am obsessed with helping dogs and their owners live their best lives. So if you're a dog owner, dog lover, or soon-to-be dog owner, this may be the channel for you. I'd really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. Okay, so today we're going to talk about all of these different types of dog behaviors and why your dog is doing what they're doing. But to kick it off, let's start with some of the really gross behavior, or things that we might think are gross behavior. So starting off, we're going to take a look at sniffing butts. So you probably noticed that when dogs greet each other, they sniff each other's butts. And to us, that seems really weird. It may even feel a little bit embarrassing, especially if they decide that they're going to go up to our human friends and sniff the private areas. Well, in dogs' butts, there are anal glands, and these glands secrete different oils, and there's pheromones that are in these oils that are secreted by the anal gland. Your dog can pick up so much information from their canine friends by sniffing the butt. Similarly, they can pick up a lot of information from sniffing people's private parts. So even though it may seem really embarrassing or just gross to us, this is perfectly normal canine behavior. So up next, again, talking about the smelly stuff, when your dog rolls in something smelly. Now, they tend to want to do this, of course, after they've just been groomed and fresh out of a bath. Now, keep in mind that a dog's sense of smell is better than our ability to see. So they do pick up a lot of information this way. So what smells good to us may not necessarily smell great to our dogs, and sometimes just some of the other smells, the earthy smells, let's say, smell better to them. Scientists who studied wolf behavior have actually found that wolves will go by where, say, they find an animal carcass, roll around, go back to their pack, and they're carrying with them the scent of where they've been, the type of animal carcass they found, all sorts of information. So this is actually a way for them to send a message to each other or back to their pack. So again, this is perfectly normal behavior, even though it can be annoying and sometimes really gross. Next up is eating poop. So sometimes you will see this. Your dog may end up, after they go do their business, then they try to eat it. Now, this is also can be very normal behavior. Keep in mind, for puppies especially, when a puppy is newly born through to their first probably 3 weeks, their mom actually helps to stimulate their need to have a bowel movement by licking their hindquarters. Once the puppy defecates, then the mom eats it. So this could be very well your puppy just mimicking that behavior. Next, especially for puppies, puppies explore the world through their mouths. So they might be just picking it up and tasting it because it's there. Making sure that you clean up after your puppy can certainly help to mitigate this. And you may actually have to do some excessive training as well. And finally, just something to keep in mind, that some kibbles or some dog foods may not be as easily digested by your dog. So they may be going back after when they poo to get back the nutrients that they would have lost that their body wasn't able to absorb the first time around. If you think that this is an issue for your dog, you might want to consider, changing up their food or going to see your vet to make sure that they are getting all the nutrients that they need. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about some of the weird behavior, and some of it can just be downright comical, but some of the weird behavior you might see your dog doing is walking around in circles before they lie down. Really, this is simply just your dog trying to find a comfortable place to lie down. Now, your puppy or your dog may be feeling or going through some discomfort, so they might also be looking for a place where they can lie comfortably or a position that they can lie comfortably. Just keep in mind, if this is new behavior, watch them to see if they're having any other mobility issues as they go through their day. The next one is they're searching for the perfect place to poop. I know sometimes this can be really weird and sometimes annoying, especially if you're out in the elements on a walk and you just need your dog to go poop, but they're looking for the perfect place. Some scientists believe that this is a way for your dog to really just stomp down the grass to find the really great place to go poo. But other scientists have been studying this, and they find that dogs tend to go in a north-south sort of direction. That's how they position themselves before they go and do their business. And very rarely do dogs, face in an east-westerly direction. I would be really interested if you've noticed the same thing. Keep an eye on that when you're going out for a walk with your dog, or if you're watching your dog while they're in the yard, if they do the same thing. Leave a comment below if you've noticed any sort of trends. Next up is the zoomies. So the zoomies, if you're not familiar with that, this is really just a burst of energy that your dog may have throughout the day. Now, some people will call it the witching hour. Others might say they have the beans in them. But this is a time when your dog just seems to run around in circles for no apparent reason. A lot of times you'll see that it's correlated with different activities like bath time. So after your dog gets out of the bath, they might have a case of the zoomies, or after playtime. Most of the time this is normal behavior and you can just let your dog zoom it out, get rid of some of that excess energy. But definitely you want to keep in mind that you want to make sure that your dog is getting enough exercise, and see if you notice any trends. So if your dog tends to get the zoomies more after a play session or after being surrounded by other dogs or a lot of people, in that case your dog just might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed, so you may need to sort of alter some of those experiences for them. Next up is tail chasing. So if you notice your dog is chasing its tail, that is perfectly normal behavior and usually just really playful behavior. But if you also notice that your dog catches its tail and chews on it, that could be indicative of a bigger issue. There could be some sort of skin issues or what have you. Definitely you'll want to take your dog to the vet, examine the tail, make sure that there isn't any underlying conditions at play here. Now, of course, my dog doesn't really have much of a tail. Typically, a Polish lowland sheepdog is going to have a smaller tail anyway. Mine is a very bobtail. It's how he was born. So it's unlikely I'm going to see that kind of behavior, but it can be pretty funny to watch. And finally, you might see your dog scooting across the floor on their butt. Now, although this may seem really weird or even comical, there usually is an underlying issue, which is their anal glands. So their anal glands tend to need to be secreted on a somewhat regular basis. And this is typically done by your groomer. So if you take your dog to a groomer on a pretty regular basis, then they will take care of that for you. Otherwise, you may have to do this yourself, or, as glamorous as this sounds, or take your dog to the vet. The vet can also help with this process, but this is really just, their anal glands needing to be secreted. Okay, so now for some of the really adorable behavior that we see in our dogs. Number one is tilting of the head. If you've ever seen your dog tilting their head at you when you're speaking with them, they may be just really paying extra close attention, especially if you say some of those really key words, which I'm not going to say because my puppy is right next to me. But another reason for this could very well be that your dog has an ear infection. If you suspect that your dog has an ear infection and they're moving their head a little bit more, or they're scratching at their ears a lot, then definitely you'll want to check it out or take your dog to the vet for an exam. Number two is when they bark or run in their sleep. So for the most part, if you hear your dog barking and they're sleeping, or they're running in their sleep, they're just simply having a dream. However, if you notice that your dog's body is very stiff when they're sleeping and they're barking, yipping, or moving their legs involuntarily, that could be the sign of a seizure. That is something far more serious, so definitely you'll want to take your dog to the vet to make sure that there's nothing wrong. So next up is if you see your dog winking at you. Now, if they're winking one eye, it may just simply mean that they have something in their eye. But if they're maybe winking or blinking their eyes, that's just being really polite and submissive, because in the dog world, excessive staring could be a threatening type of behavior. So they're just really trying to be gentle and loving to you. Next is picking stuff up on a walk. So sometimes you'll see a dog walking around with a stick in their mouth, and they're having a great time. My dog loves to chase the leaves that are blowing in the wind, and he'll pick them up and walk them around as a very proud puppy would do. Now, this is really just, especially for puppies, it is the same as a toddler walking around with their blankie. It's something that's a comfort thing for them, but puppies and some younger dogs will explore the world through their mouth. So really, this is just cute behavior, and certainly not something to necessarily discourage unless it's something that can hurt them. And finally, if your dog puts their paw on you, it's really quite adorable, in my opinion anyway, but that is their way of trying to get your attention. They just want to either cuddle with you or play with you, but they're just simply trying to get your attention, just as if you were to tap someone on the shoulder. So there you have it, some of the common dog behaviors and why your dog does what he or she does. I would love it if you'd leave a comment below and let me know if your dog exhibits any of these behaviors, or if there's some other funny, weird, or gross behaviors that your dog does. We could discuss kind of why they do it and just kind of share in our stories. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and as always, have an awesome day.